Hello, everyone. I have a special guest joining me just for a moment here.
Should I stand right here?
Yeah.
So you can't see who it is?
If you're not watching the video, he's... Oh, there he is. Mr. Scott.
I've arrived.
He's here just for a few moments.
Yeah. But I won't be on today's episode, just in this part, because Jess said people were slightly concerned that I haven't been around.
Yeah, they've been a little worried, so I thought we'll do a quick little intro with him here for a moment.
I didn't think people would miss me.
Yeah, I guess people do.
Probably everyone, eh?
I don't know if it's everyone. It's like probably a very small group of people miss you, but What can you tell everyone about how your summer's going? Like, where have you been?
I've just been not working at all, just lazing around, kicking back, letting Jess take on everything.
Typical man. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
exactly. Oh, it's been busy. You have a lot of projects for me.
I know people have asked where you've been, but you've been working on a lot of behind the scenes stuff, a lot of projects, a lot of contracts.
Yeah, that's true. That's been taking up a lot of my time.
All exciting things, though. You've been working on some web stuff. I don't know what you all want to share that you're working on, but
Yeah, web stuff. What else? We have new courses.
we have
and
courses coming
toolkit
out.
updates, and I don't know. I feel like
The book, a lot of book stuff.
my task list and my project list, I knock one thing off of it, and then there's like 2 or 3 more things that pop up on that list. So it's actually getting longer and instead of shorter.
Yeah. And why don't you tell everyone about your spare time? How's that been going?
What are you alluding to?
The hobbies have taken over in your spare time.
Well, they've always been there.
They've always been there, but I feel like lately, telling Scott last night, I was mad at him.
Right.
We can talk about that for a moment. People probably miss the stories when I get angry at you. No, but
Did they? You think?
no, probably not. Anyways, I was getting a little bit mad at Scott last night because we were supposed to take the kids inside. It was like past their bedtime already. It's like 7:35. We're all out. We've been playing on the street every night, which we love to do. But I can tell our kids are getting tired. So I'm like giving Scott the look of like, let's go inside. But he didn't catch the look.
I didn't see it.
He didn't catch it. And then all of a sudden, what does Scott do? I thought he was cleaning up to like bring the kids in the... No. Comes out.
Not so much.
What do you come out with?
My water rocket launcher.
The water bottle rocket launcher. I don't know what to call it. And then proceeds to do an entire science experiment for all
It's
the
not
kids.
an experiment. It's just you...
Kind of an experiment.
I guess
for
sort
the
of.
kids.
Yeah, sort of.
For all the kids on the street.
The neighbor
Anyway,
kids loved it.
They loved it.
It was fun.
I did forgive him because they loved it so much. But we were out there for a long time. But Scott's been doing some pretty cool stuff. So this is what he's been up to. So no need to fear. Scott's doing...
Yeah, I'm still around.
He's still around.
We're still okay.
We're good.
In case you were concerned about that.
I was telling Scott, I think people are getting a little worried because all of a sudden you're not on the podcast anymore. It's like, are Jess and Scott okay? We're great.
You're still posting about me on
Yeah, I'm still, but not everyone sees
me
that. Yeah,
on
I'm still
social
making
media
fun of you.
constantly. Yeah.
But we are doing good. In fact, I think we're doing quite well. We're about to go camping.
Yeah, just been busy.
We've just been busy. So we will have Scott back. We have some exciting guests coming up in the next few weeks. So that'll be good. And when some of these other big tasks he's working on kind of slow down a little bit, then we'll probably have you back. So yeah, not to fear. You'll get to hear him again. But
Lucky all of you. I didn't think people would care if I was gone. So then we're like, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that also don't care that much.
Anything else to share?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I need to get to work.
Okay, you better go.
Yeah. Otherwise, Jess might get mad at me.
Yeah.
Okay, bye. Thanks for
Okay.
listening.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. See ya.
Welcome to Robot Unicorn, hosted by my parents, Jess and Scott. I hope you enjoyed the episode.
Okay, so today, now that Scott's gone, we are going to talk about risky play. I was really excited to talk to you about risky play for a few reasons. First, risky play used to terrify me when I first became a mom because I had a lot of anxiety. I didn't want my kids to get hurt. And so I would often kind of veer towards being that helicopter parent, like, no, be careful, don't do that. But what I noticed was the more I was saying that, of course, my kids were becoming more cautious, which was good, but also they were starting to get more anxious and nervous and not necessarily trust themselves, which isn't what I wanted. I also wanted to talk about it because I feel like I see a lot of people, even like books, talking about the importance of risky play without really defining what it is and how to go about it in a safe way. So I was actually doing some research for my own book about risky play, and I thought, you know what, this is going to make a really great episode, so let's do a podcast on it. So first, let's just define what risky play is. Risky play is a thrilling and exciting form of play that involves some sort of risk of a physical injury. Okay, so it can include climbing to great heights, high speed, using something that could be dangerous. For example, your child's like using a hammer. There could be some element of danger to it, like they're walking on a rock that could be slippery or something like that. There could be some rough and tumble to it, or there could be something where they could, let's say, get lost. Now, there is something that's really important to say. When there is risk, right? So we have to always think about how much risk are we willing to take for our kids. We never want to take so much risk that it becomes hazardous. So hazardous is like there's a risk of major injury. There's a risk of death. There's a risk of something really terrible happening to your child, like drowning. We are never encouraging our children to engage in hazardous activities. That is dangerous. That is not something we want to do. That is not something we want to encourage. And that is something that we need to actually teach our kids to be cautious about. Okay, so that's like, let's just put that out there right away. So I'll give you an example. You're never going to encourage your child to walk on some slippery rocks when on the other side of those slippery rocks is like super deep water and they don't know how to swim and they could drown. Right? We're not going to encourage that. You might say to your child that they could try and walk on some slippery rocks in a little creek where the worst thing that could happen is they fall off the rock and they fall into the creek and they get wet. Right? So we have to really think about the balance between the risk and something being hazardous. And we're never encouraging our kids to be hazardous. Now, the reason why a little bit of risk is important for kids is it helps them increase their confidence. It helps them have to learn how to kind of navigate a difficult situation. It actually decreases anxiety if we kind of step back a little bit and show them that they are capable of doing this tough thing. And again, it's not about you not being involved. So when I used to think about risky play, I would kind of think about parents who are like to their kids, yep, go outside and play. And they live on a farm or something like that. And kids are getting into all sorts of things, but the parents aren't around. No one's supervising the kids at all. And they get into actual hazardous things that they shouldn't be doing. Again, that's not what we're talking about. So I'll give you an example of risky play that could be helpful. So we have a giant tree in our yard and our kids like to try and climb it, right? So we've given them, a certain branch that we don't want them to go past because I feel like past that branch, if they fell, it would be hazardous. But at the same time, there is risk to climbing even to the height that they climb. We know when they're in that tree. I'm not necessarily standing there hovering, watching their every single move when they're in the tree climbing it. And I know that there is a risk that if they fell off a certain branch to the height that they go, that they could break their arm. At the same time, I trust my kids because I've seen them learn how to climb this tree and I've seen them learn, what they need to do to make sure that they're careful. They know that I'm still around. They're not in this tree unless I can hear them if they yell for me and they can't get down for whatever reason. They have each other. They're not alone in the tree. So if someone did hurt themselves a little bit, then another kid is there to help out. But we still let them climb this tree. And what's happened is the more that they climb the tree, the more that they get comfortable going up the branches, I can see their confidence increasing. I can see their teamwork increasing as they kind of talk to each other about how to climb the tree. And the most major injury that we've had is some splinters from the tree. So there is a risk there, but it's also helpful for our kids to kind of learn how to navigate that risk, knowing that we're nearby, but not necessarily hovering. So another example of something that's quote unquote risky is, let's say, biking. Now it's hazardous to go on a bike without a helmet. It's unsafe. There's no reason to go on a bike without a helmet. But if you teach your child to bike on a two-wheel bike, there is some risk involved, right? They could fall, they could scrape their knee, they could hurt their elbow, they could go really fast and have a hard time slowing down. So we want to teach them how to bike as safely as we can, but also we know that there is some risk to it, and that's okay, because as a child starts to bike within the safety of you being there and coaching them and showing them how to do it, they also learn how to navigate that risk. They also feel more confident as they get on the bike and they go around, and it can help them. So those are some examples of things that can have some element of risk to them. But again, there is the balance between you're still around, you're still there, but you're not necessarily hovering. And you know that there's the potential chance for them to fall and hurt themselves. And that's a risk that we're willing to take. So there's a lot of research on this. One of the articles that I pulled for this talks about instead of just trying to kind of bubble wrap our kids to be safe, when they are engaging in some risky play, it's also the parent's job to help them become a little more competent at managing danger. So instead of just removing all hazards so that they never have anything kind of risky or dangerous, we want to do some coaching, helping our kids understand, okay, so if you step on a rock and you realize it's super slippery, what are you going to do next? Coaching them through it so that they can understand how they themselves can manage kind of a risky situation. And that is a long-term skill for them because eventually, as they get older, you might not always be there. So they can learn how to navigate their own difficult situations that they might be in. So for an example, even the climbing the tree, our kids know, okay, so let's say you get up in the tree, you don't feel like you can go down. We talk about how to make sure a branch is strong enough that they can put their foot on it. We talk about how they can ask someone else for help, how they can call us if they need us. We talk about how they should make sure that they don't just climb up all the way to the top without first just climb up a little bit and then climb down, climb up a little bit more and then climb down. We talk about practicing. So as we're doing this coaching, it's helping them understand and how to be competent in the situation that does have some risk, right? So it's not just about, be safe. It's about coaching and teaching them competence. Hey friends, so at pickup last week, our daughter asked Scott a truly kind of tricky question in front of her younger siblings. Scott was telling me that when he heard a question like this, he used to panic, but this time he had a plan. And he said to our daughter, "Thank you for asking. Let's talk tonight when we've got privacy." And that's a line that he learned straight from our new body safety and consent course at Nurtured First. So this new body safety and consent course is taught by me. So Jess, if you listen to this podcast, you know me. I'm a child therapist and a mom of 3, and I have taught body safety and consent education for years. This course takes all my years of experience teaching this education and gives you calm, age-appropriate language for body parts, consent, and boundaries. You'll learn how to teach your kids that no means no. You'll learn how to teach them to read facial cues. You'll talk about safe and unsafe touch, and you'll even teach them about their uh-oh feeling. There's guidance inside this course for the real life stuff, like tickling that goes too far, and even the difference between a secret and a surprise. We made this course at Nurtured First because research shows that body safety education helps kids speak up sooner, and we want that for our family, for Scott and I, but also for you. So check the course out at nurturedfirst.com/bodysafety, and to save 10%, use the code ROBOTUNICORN. And just full disclosure here, we are the creators of this course, and we're so proud of it. Okay, so I wanted to discuss a couple of the developmental benefits of risky play, just in case you're like, why does this actually matter? So first, when children engage in play that has a little bit of risk, so like what we were saying about climbing a tree, biking, let's say running around even in mud where they could slip and they could fall and they could get all muddy, splashing in puddles that are kind of wet. When they engage in that type of risky play, something that they learn to do is to assess their own abilities and to look out for environmental hazards. So if children never have a chance to tune in with themselves and say, am I actually capable of doing this? Do I think I can do this? And to look at a landscape and be like, okay, if I want to go to this side of the creek and there's this many rocks, how am I going to get from here to here? How am I going to do that? And to have some of that chance to think through these situations on their own, there's problem solving there. There's looking at their own level of competence. There's the ability to increase their confidence as they realize that they can do these things that are a little bit tricky. Emotional regulation is also a benefit to risky play, especially for kids who might be a little bit more on the anxious side. So as they learn that they can actually handle things that are a little bit scary. So I'll give you an example, even for something super small. We have this little plastic, basically playhouse in the backyard. One of those ones that I'm sure you've seen, or you might even have. It has one little door the kids can go in. There's a little kitchen there, and it has a little tiered roof. Now, my kids love to put their foot in the window, climb up, and then sit on the roof of that playhouse. So when they were 3 years old, let's say, sitting on the roof of that playhouse is a little bit risky because they could fall off, they could feel stuck, like they can't get down, but we always let them do it. We're like, fine, if you want to climb up and sit on top of the playhouse, no problem. But then what we would see is then they would get up there and they would be scared to get down. So instead of rushing over there and being like, okay, I'll just like take you off, we'd be like, nope, you got up. Now let me coach you through how to get down. And so we'd see them be a little bit scared, but try and get off the playhouse. But then when they could do it themselves, we would notice their confidence increase. They'd feel so good about themselves. They'd be like, I did it. I can do it. And all of a sudden, the more they do it, the more their fear decreases. And now they believe that they can do it. So that's the kind of thing when we allow our children to engage in some of that play that has a little bit of risk. And instead of rushing in and trying to fix the situation as soon as they feel scared, providing that coaching and showing them that they can actually handle it and they can do it, that can increase their confidence as well. There's also a huge element to the physical health. So when we try so hard to reduce our child's any potential risk, and a lot of this comes with that outdoor play, if that is something that they're able to do, it also often means that they're spending a lot more time just sitting, right? Being indoors, maybe being on a game or on the computer or tablet, that kind of thing, because there's less of that physical risk when they are just sitting and they're inside. But then we see that there could be physical health outcomes as well, because they're not, let's say, running and playing. They're not jumping. They're not being outside. They're not being as physically active, because a lot of the more active things that kids want to do outside do involve a little bit of that risk. So it can lead to a little more sedentary behavior, which is not as helpful for kids as running around, being outside, being active. So that's another benefit to that risky play. So again, there is a lot of benefits to allowing your child to problem solve, be outside, try some things that are a little bit risky. And the hardest part of that all is ourselves having to be like, deep breath. I'm going to coach them through it. I'm obviously not going to let them do anything hazardous, but I know that they might scrape their knee or they might hurt their ankle as they jump off here, but that's also a part of the learning process. So I just want to go through a few final topics around risky play. So first, we see that the ability to even engage in risky play is going down because even things like minor playground risks, like a lot of playgrounds don't have swing sets anymore, right? Because kids are jumping off the swing sets and hurting themselves. They're flattening these climbing structures that they used to have on playgrounds. We've accidentally decreased their exposure to even having risky play on a playground, which can be difficult because those used to be a little bit more of like a natural opportunity if you're a 90s kid to have to learn how to be even safe and cautious and aware of your own body, even when you're playing on a playground. If we make our playgrounds, and I mean, there's obviously a degree as to which we needed to look at some things on playgrounds, but if we make them so simple and so risk-free, that we also kind of take away that chance for our kids to problem solve and try to engage in understanding their environments and understanding their own capabilities in these situations. The data actually shows us too that when we remove risky play, it's not just improving their physical fitness, which is an important part of it, but it also improves kids' social skills, it improves their spatial awareness, and it can help them bond and even resolve conflicts peer-to-peer. So there's a lot of benefits there. Again, the new framework for parents that I'm suggesting in this episode is looking at hazardous play versus risky play. So is there a true danger to my child? Are they at risk of like a very serious physical injury? Or is it more my own anxiety? And is this something that I think my child could be capable of doing? They're at risk of bruising their knee. There's wisdom in a bruised knee. I think that that's okay for our kids to have bruised knees, to have scraped elbows. That's all part of being a kid and learning. And so we need to kind of find that line. And then the final thing I'll say is when you see your child engaging in some risky play, instead of saying, be careful, be careful, be careful over and over, what we do want to do is help them be mindful of their own body, notice their surroundings, and see what they feel comfortable with. So you could say something like, okay, I want you to just be aware. What's going on around you? What's the next step that you want to take? Like kind of slowing them down. You could say something instead of be careful. You could say, what's your plan? What are you hoping to do next? get them to think through it. I think that's really helpful. Instead of saying, be careful, you could say, okay, be mindful right now. What's all happening around you, right? So we want to help them develop this spatial awareness as well. So that was a lot, but also I know I could dive way deeper into this topic, but I just kind of wanted to give you something to think about in terms of the risky play versus hazardous play. Let me know the questions that you have, and we can come back and talk about this topic again. It's one I would love to have Scott back on to talk about as well, because I know even in our own relationship, he definitely is a lot more comfortable with risky play for our kids than I ever was. And so being married to him and seeing him actually equip our daughters and be like, no, Jess, they actually can do this. You just got to step back. You got to give them the chance, coach them through it. If they fall, it's not that big a deal. Trying to teach me how to take a step back, I think has been really empowering for me to see how much our kids are actually capable of when I give them the chance. And that being said, again, we are big on safety. So we're big on helmets. We're big on not letting our kids use things like e-bikes or e-scooters, that kind of thing. We're big on things that are safe for our kids, while also letting them do things like climb trees and ride bikes and run around in the mud and fall down if they do. Our kids have bruises all over their legs because they fall down when they're playing. And I remember even bringing my youngest into the doctor, and she's got like all these bruises on her legs. And the doctor's like, great, I'm so happy to see this. This is how kids' legs should look, because they should be outside playing and running around and falling and doing all those things. Anyway, can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. It was nice to talk to Scott at the beginning of the episode, and we will talk to you all again next week. Hey friends, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We are glad that you are here. If you enjoyed today's episode and found it interesting, we'd really appreciate it if you'd leave a rating and a review. Scott and I actually sit down together and read them all. A 5-star rating helps us share our podcast and get these important messages out there. Thank you so much for listening, and we can't wait to talk to you again next time.